Over the last 20 years, Steve Farber has shaken up and redefined what it means to really lead and make a difference in the business world and beyond.
Hey, Joe. Just got this email from my boss. She says I got to empower you.
You're going to empower me.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does empowerment mean to you?
That's
I'll
good.
tell you what it
You're
means.
going to tell me?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me. I'm ready.
It means that from now on, you're going to start making decisions around here, take better care of our customers, improve our processes, and all that garbage. So this shouldn't take very long. Just sit still while I empower you.
I'll try.
Attaboy.
Is it working?
Joe, I empower you to go out there to make decisions to improve things around here, so go forth and be empowered. One last piece of advice, however. Don't screw it up. And before you make any decisions, check with me. Thanks, Joe. Can you relate to that? All right. Now, here's the point. Here's the point. It should be obvious to everybody in this room, right? That's not empowerment. That's using a new vocabulary word with the same old behavioral garbage associated with it. The words are easy to use. The opportunity that exists for everybody in this room is to really live out the promise of what empowerment is. And what really gets me excited, because this is my area of passion, and has been for my entire adult life, it's the opportunity to really lead. And let's just get one thing out of the way right now, just be absolutely crystal clear about this. Leadership has got nothing to do with what it says on that business card in your wallet or in your purse or in your pocket. It's got nothing to do with where you sit on the company's organizational chart. It's got nothing to do with who or how many people report to you. It's got everything to do with who you are and what you do, and how you approach your work and how you approach your life. And I'll say this politely, as best I can. I've met some people over the years in my work that sit very prominently on their company's organizational chart and have very impressive sounding titles that still have, and this is the polite part, a bit of work to do, let's say, as far as how they lead, if you know what I mean. And the other side of that equation is probably far more important. I can't tell you how many people I've met that have no positional authority. They're not managers, they're not supervisors, they're out there on the front line doing the work, and they're great leaders. So there's something else going on there, not the title, not the position, but there's something internal and external that's happening that's really significant. That's the kind of person that I refer to as the extreme leader. But a place that comes across as being exciting and energetic is much more likely to be cranking out a product, a service that people are going to love. I mean, it's a direct result of the level of energy that leadership is putting into that place or not. So here's the question to ask yourself. It's a bit of a litmus test kind of a question. I won't ask you to answer it out loud, but I think it's a good place to start. In thinking about your own influence on the energy around you at work, ask yourself this question. Do I generate more energy when I walk into a room or when I walk out of it? You know what I'm talking about, right? We've all known these people. They're like the walking vacuums of the human spirit, man. They're like the energy vampires. I mean, all they have to do is walk into the room. You see it in the body language. Just look at everybody else in the room. All they have to do is walk in, and it's like they suck the life out of the place. And you see everybody else just kind of shrivel up and wither and die until that person leaves. And then it's like the clouds break, the sun comes out, the birds start chirping, and we get back to doing great work again. So we want to make sure, all I'm saying, pretty simple, is that we're not that person, right? In other words, that we're putting more energy in than we're taking out. So the question is, how do we go about generating energy? And, there's probably thousands of ways to do it, thousands of ways. So on the highest level, simplest level, I'm asking you to pay attention to it, because please don't underestimate the degree to which you influence the environment around you at work, just by virtue of your being there.
Steve Farber has risen through the ranks, from business owner and entrepreneur to senior level executive coach and consultant to vice president of management guru, Tom Peters' company, and ultimately to business thought leader. World-renowned speaker, best-selling author, and leadership visionary.
Philosophers call this the ethic of reciprocity, which basically says human beings should do good for other human beings. And what I found particularly interesting about this is that not one of these versions from any of these cultures had a little asterisk next to the words with a footnote at the bottom of the page that says, does not apply Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 and 5. And yet, when we go to work, the golden rule doesn't seem to be the rule very much. It seems to be the exception to the rule until you look at the great leaders. And when I say great leaders, I don't mean the historical leaders. I mean the great leaders that you've never heard of. But they're the people who are famous in their organizations for being extraordinary. To them, they get this on steroids.
Steve Farber's landmark book, The Radical Leap, a personal lesson in extreme leadership, is already considered a classic in the field and was named as one of the 100 best business books of all time. His second book, The Radical Edge, Stoke Your Business, Amp Your Life, and Change the World, was called a playbook for harnessing the power of the human spirit. And his latest work, Greater Than Yourself, the ultimate lesson of true leadership, debuted as a USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller. Here's Steve.
From this point on, this is going to be a little different from the normal so-called speaker video. We are going to show you speech clips with a wide variety of venues, from the MGM Grand Arena with 17,000 people in attendance to more intimate settings with smaller groups. So you will get a good flavor of my style and approach. But maybe more important is that you'll walk away with a good knowledge of my content, my platform, my body of work, which is making such a huge difference for so many people in so many areas of life all around the world. And here's the reaction that I get time and time again. This is not the same old leadership stuff. This is leadership revisited. This is leadership re-inspired. This is extreme leadership. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there are some people that are more naturally inclined to leadership. They just kind of get it. They're just really good at it. They don't even know what they're doing. They just do it well. It doesn't mean that for the rest of us there's no hope. It means that for the rest of us, we have to pay very close attention to our own development, and all of us can do it. All of us can rise to that challenge. Sometimes that challenge is thrust upon us. Sometimes we seek it out individually. But we have to be aware that leadership is born out of challenge. And now imagine this. The day finally arrives where you're ready to take on the mountain. And as you approach the track from down below, as you're looking at this track, you're thinking, this is going to be cool. Because the angle is manageable from down here. It's a beautiful, bright, sunny day. The sun is glinting off of the snow, and you're thinking, this is awesome, man. Can't wait to give this a try. You got your board in your hand. You take the lift up to the top of the mountain. And now you're taking in the view from up here, and you're thinking, all right, this is a little different. It's just a little different, but it's not bad. And you got your board in your hand, and you step up to the edge of the track, and you look down. What's the angle like from up here? There's no angle from up here. It's a straight drop into the abyss from up here. So now you're having second thoughts, right? Your hands are shaking on the board, the heart's beating in your chest, sweat's breaking out of your forehead, having trouble catching your breath. But you finally get up the nerve to just lie down on the board a little bit, and you're teetering on the edge, and finally you take a deep breath and you push off, and before you know it, bang, you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you suddenly realize that you are now 100% committed to this idea, right? There is no turning back now, and typically at that point in the process, there are two words that come to mind. What are they? You know what they are. I'll be polite. I'll call it, oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Is that slide still up there? Do you see the picture up there? Okay. M stands for moment. You got the idea? Okay, here's what I'm suggesting. Here's what I'm suggesting. The OSM is the natural built-in indicator that we have as human beings that we are doing or about to do something that has potentially extraordinary impact. You can imagine that people tend to remember the OSM for a very long time because it's such a critical human experience, and we don't often recognize it or pay attention to it. That interesting blend of fear and exhilaration all rolled in together is what leadership feels like. But what exactly do you need to do in order to be an extreme leader? Well, here's how that breaks down. The extreme leader, with conscious intent, strives to take a radical leap day in and day out, to cultivate love, generate energy, inspire audacity, and provide proof. In the following series of clips, I'm going to address each of these leap elements in turn, and let's start it off with that word that you don't typically hear from a hardcore business guy like me. And even though it may make you squirm a little bit at first, I think you'll see that it's accurate. The stereotype about engineers is simply, we are engineers, we don't do that people thing, right? Keep the people out of our way so we can get our jobs done around here. That's the ideal scenario. I know it's not true, but it still made me nervous. You know, when I'm standing in front of 1,000 of these people from the internet and telecom industry, and I'm talking about love, you know. So I was being hypersensitive to the body language because I didn't know if I was going to get through or not. And from what I could tell, I was connecting pretty well. And then a couple of days later, I got back to my office. I had an email from somebody in that group who was a manager of internet folks, you know, LAN technicians. And at least I got through to him because he wrote to tell me, he said, hey, you know that love stuff you were talking about? He said, you're right on, man. He said, I've been telling my guys this since the day I became a manager 10 years ago. And I thought you'd appreciate seeing it in his own words. Here's the way he said it. I've told my technicians to make the customer absolutely love you, take you home to dinner, love you, meet the wife and kids, love you, because if the customer loves you, you can blow up their building, and they'll say accidents happen. There are probably better business strategies. There are better ways to test customer loyalty, right? But this does tell us something. You know, I have to admit to you, I first put this on a slide because I thought it was funny. But the more I've thought about this, the more profound it gets. Because what it's telling us is, you know, here we are in the beginning of the 21st century, and for so long as business people, we've been conditioned to believe and act on the belief that customer satisfaction is the most important thing, right? That a satisfied customer should be at the core of everything we do as a business. Only to look around now and understand that customer satisfaction doesn't mean squat anymore. I mean, there's no loyalty in a satisfied customer. There's no repeat business guaranteed with the satisfied customer. There's no word of mouth that happens with customer satisfaction because satisfaction has become a baseline expectation. We expect that wherever we go. Therefore, it is no longer a competitive advantage to create it for people. But when they love us, when they love the experience of working with us, when they love the quality of our product or service, when they love the way we anticipate their needs, love, that's where the buzz factor comes from, the loyalty comes from, the forgiveness factor, as our friend here is telling us, comes from when things don't go according to plan. So to say that love has no place in business is insane. In fact, if you want to look at it just as a business application, it's really just damn good business. So then they go into the shaving technology laboratory. They talk to a guy named Donald Chalk, who is the vice president of the shaving technology laboratory. I think that title pretty much says it all. And they ask him to describe what that means and what they do there. So listen to what he said, and you tell me if there's any energy in this, all right? Now, I love this so much I memorized it. Here's what he said, and I quote, "We test the blade guard, the blade edge, the angle of the razor, the balance of the handle, the length, the heft, the width. What happens to the chemistry of the skin? What happens to the hair when you pull it? What happens to the follicle? We own the face," he said. "We know more about shaving than anybody. I don't think obsession is too strong a word." And then he paused and he said, "I got to be careful. I don't want to sound crazy." It's a little too late for that, Donald. But that's not crazy. That's not crazy. That's energy, right? So do they make razor blades? Sure, they make razor blades, but they don't make razor blades. You see what I mean? And by the way, you know, to say they make razor blades is not telling the whole story. I mean, obviously they have other lines of business and products and so forth. But just in the razor blade market alone, these guys have over 70% of the world's market share in razor blades. And they're the ones to beat as far as shaving technology goes. Just ask anybody at Schick, for example. They're always chasing after these guys, right? Now you know why. They own the face. So then I was down in Mexico doing some work for Discovery Network. And they had a client event for their Latin American clients, right? So these were brand managers, PR people, advertising company people that advertise on the various Discovery networks, all from Latin America, relatively young group, lovely, energetic, small group of folks. And I talked about Gillette, mentioned the Container Store. And when I was finished, this young woman from Colombia came up to me. She pulled me aside, introduced herself. Turns out she works for Kimberly-Clark. And she said, "I listened very carefully to what you had to say, and I know exactly what you mean." She said, "I'm the brand manager in the Latin American markets for Huggies diapers." And then she said, "So you can imagine what I'm obsessed with." Which, you know, I thought was pretty funny, you know. I mean, obviously it's not the face that she owns, you know. And she said, however, I am not in the business of selling diapers. I'm in the business of creating happy babies and happy moms. She said, that's what I really do, and that's what I tell people all the time. That's what I really do, that's what I tell people all the time. All right, so let's review, okay? Razor blades, trash cans, and diapers. I mean, if that doesn't sound like a landfill, I don't know what else does. Now, you see where I'm going with this, right? Right? I mean, come on, man. If it's possible to get excited and energetic about that stuff, don't tell me there's nothing to get excited and energetic about in the kind of work that you folks do. I don't buy that for a second, right? But the question is, are you clear on it? Are you clear on it? And are you telling people all the time? So let me share with you my answer to this question, this motivation question behind it. I'm not saying it's the only one, but I do think it gets us right in the zone as far as extreme leadership goes, and more important, it presents to us what I believe is our biggest, most significant opportunity today as human beings, and perhaps even obligation. Certainly our obligation as leaders. So here we go. Bold and blatant disregard for normal constraints in order to change the world for the better. The audacity to think that you or me or any collection of us sitting in this room here this morning can actually change the world is the right kind of audacity. And it demands a bold and blatant disregard of probably the most insidious so-called normal constraint that we put on ourselves as people, which is, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not Gandhi. I'm not Martin Luther King. I'm not Mother Teresa. I don't have the charisma, the intelligence, the time, the imagination, the resources, the whatever to change the world for the better. I mean, if somebody else wants to change the world, I will gladly stand up and applaud. I might even write them a check. But don't ask me to do that because I'm just me. And frankly, I think that's a very dangerous constraint that we put on ourselves. And if I could be blunt, it's a lie. And it's a very convenient lie that we tell ourselves. Because in believing that lie, we're abdicating our responsibility for changing the world to somebody else. And I think what gets us tripped up here is the word world. Most of us tend to interpret world as if it were a capital W world, or as we used to say when we were kids, the whole wide world, right? Well, I'll tell you something right now. If you guys could figure out a way through the work that you do every day, whatever the work is, to change the whole wide world for the better, I say God bless you, more power to you, have at it. What are you waiting for? But I'm also suggesting that it's not the only option that we have. Do I really want to do this stuff? Do I really want to? And by the way, answer it yes or no. But as long as you're honest with the answer. My friend Terry Pierce, who's one of the finest executive coaches on the planet, put this beautifully in an article from the San Francisco Examiner. And this was almost 10 years ago already, but the words are timeless, and I think they speak for themselves. Here's the way Terry put it. He said, there are many people who think they want to be matadors, only to find themselves in the ring with 2,000 pounds of bull bearing down on them, and then discover that what they really wanted was to wear tight pants and hear the crowd roar. This isn't about the status. This isn't about the accolades. It's not about the applause. We put ourselves at risk to do anything meaningful. Therefore, the question, do I really want to do this, is entirely valid and very personal. So I'm going to begin to wind us down here on the assumption that the answer to this question, do I really want to do this, is yes for everybody. I don't know if it is or if it isn't. Let's assume it is. How do we prove to ourselves then that we're really doing it? We know this. We've called it any number of things over the years. We've called it walk your talk. We've called it practice what you preach. We've called it put your money where your mouth is. Kouzes and Posner, who I mentioned earlier, had a very simple, universal way of saying it. They called it simply dwizzywid, is how you pronounce that, which stands for what, would you guess? Do what you say you will do. Do what you say you will do. The congruence between our words and our actions. If I say one thing and do another, at the very least, it creates cynicism and confusion. At the worst, it creates total disengagement. If I tell you that you should do something, but you see me doing something completely different, my own personal credibility gets damaged, maybe even destroyed, and pretty soon, everything that we talked about here this morning is moot. Because without credibility, we got nothing. Let me see if I can demonstrate this for you real quick, okay? Let's try a little teamwork exercise right now. Would you all put your hands out in front of you like this, please? Okay, now here's the drill. Drill is we're all going to clap once at exactly the same moment, so it's going to sound like one loud, thunderous clap. And I'll be the leader, so let's all clap when I count 3. On the count of 3. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Try it again. Try it again. Come on. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, boy. I still got about a half of you there, it sounded like. All right, so let's analyze this for a second, all right? First time around, what were you following, my words or my actions? Actions. Second time around, what were you following? Well, some of you were, some of you weren't. It's like, what the heck does he want, man? Did you feel the confusion in here? Well, if I kept doing this to you, saying one thing and doing another, pretty soon you're not going to do anything that I ask you to do anymore, are you? Here, try this. Put your finger in the air like so, if you would. Just like, see, some of you are reluctant to do that already. All right, now take that finger and put it right here on your chin. Chin, that's this part of your face right here. That would be the chin. Even knew I was setting you up, and many of you still fell for that. All right, now here's the deal. That's a cute little game. Just a cute little game, right? Kind of fun, good laugh. But let me tell you something, man. You magnify that 1,000 times. That's what happens every day in our business. The minute, the second, the nanosecond, you step into a leadership role. You step under the microscope and people watch everything that you do. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So there you go. By taking that radical leap, cultivating love, generating energy, inspiring audacity, and providing proof every day, you have a significant opportunity to change the world of your industry, of your company, of your team, of your community for the better. I think of LEAP as the extreme leadership operating system, so to speak, and there are thousands of applications in both the public and private sectors of work, and of course in our personal lives as well. And it's in the application of these ideas where the magic lies. And at the end of the day, that's what my work is all about. Let me introduce you to just a few of the companies who've written to express what this extreme leadership approach has meant to them.
You're right. The word love is rarely heard around the corridors of corporate America. Yet it is a word that should be ever present in each and every aspect of our lives, in the office and at home. I can tell you firsthand that our audience greatly resonated with your message. It is one of optimism and hope about the future. From all of us at Raytheon, please accept our best wishes as you continue to spread the word. You have a powerful message that is artfully delivered. Sincerely, William H. Swanson, Chairman and CEO.
Your message was timely and well delivered. I personally liked your comments about changing the world. Sincerely, David J. Bronzek, President and CEO.
Your keynote address, as well as the support you provided during the planning process, proved to be very valuable to the delivery of our messages. The strength of our leadership defines our success as a firm, and your presentation on extreme leadership provided our attendees with the means to become better leaders. Sincerely, Michael E. Ventling, Global Chief Financial Officer.
The response to the Radical Leap has been extraordinary. Your principles emulate our company foundation principles and reinforce our mission. Thank you again for the extreme leadership in inspiring me to change the world. Leapingly, Amy Carapiano.
It was an honor to experience firsthand not only your message on leadership, but your enthusiasm and energy as well. Your examples, authenticity, and humor captivated the attendees and left them wanting more. Sincerely, Roger Schaefer, President and CEO.
Your presentation on extreme leadership was insightful, entertaining, and enlightening. Our attendees enjoyed your words of wisdom, humor, and manner of presenting the concepts of being an extreme leader. Your wrap-up was awesome. Best regards, Cynthia Mullally, Director of Education.
Your message to our leadership team was so eloquently delivered, I was left speechless. Love, energy, audacity, and proof hit home with every one of the folks in that room. It was one of the best, if not the best, I have ever heard. Sincerely, Anthony P. Beal, President.
Our members thoroughly enjoyed your sense of humor, presentation style, and message on extreme leadership. Your presentation could not have been more appropriate for our group. Sincerely, Vicki James.
Your presentation was inspirational, insightful, and energizing. It was extremely motivational for our project managers, and your humorous style really kept them engaged throughout the entire program. Without a doubt, your presentation was the best and most relevant one we have had in the history of the forum. Best regards, Brian A. Kelmar, Group Manager, Project Management.
Your message provided a challenge to the HR professional. It was thoughtful and informative. We are indeed honored and certainly appreciate the time you spent with us, and we applaud the valuable work that you are doing. All the best, Barbara Sadek, Director of Education.
If you'd like to join this group of client companies and have Steve present extreme leadership at your next conference or meeting, please visit www.stevefarber.com/speaking for more information, or call Steve's management team at 760-603-8110.